All right, Dee here. Do love sports, and I want to start with my favorite question, which is always about adversity. We've heard from both coaches the adversity that they've faced this year, this season. I would love to hear from your level the adversity that you faced this year.
Shall I take the first
Go ahead.
swipe, my friend?
Sure.
Great. You know, let's just start with we launched a spring league, a spring football league, and the ambitions and the audacious tenacity that we have to bring consistently to be a part of this incredible football ecosystem. Take care of our athletes, work with our partners, work with our markets, work with our stadiums. There's nothing about what we do that doesn't require a chip on the shoulder, a get after it attitude, and knowing that we are swinging for the fences and then having the discipline to do it every day. So I think that tenacity really speaks to who we all are in the league, to our athletes, our coaches, our partners. There's nothing smooth or soft about spring football, and that's what makes it so amazing. So that's.
I would say everything that Dany said. There's no 1 foot putts here. So from our standpoint, we all work incredibly hard as a unit and as a staff. The last few years, we went through a merger. We're only 15 months old as a league. And to be here and accomplish some of the things we accomplished, we're very, very proud of. But there's a lot that goes into it. You mentioned diversity with the coaches. You don't need to look any further than Shannon Harris. 1 week before the regular season, Reggie Barlow, who was a former coach of the year, goes off to Tennessee State. A week later, his defensive coordinator leaves, and he's sitting in this game. Daryl and I dealt with some coaches that had medical situations this year. But what we're proud of is that we have such a deep bench within our coaching staff that Daryl and I worked very hard on over the past 2 years to put ourselves in a very good position. So there's some adversity each and every day, but that's sports. And we look forward to it. We run to it. We don't run from it.
I think the biggest thing is so much of it is unanticipated. In a lot of businesses, you can kind of be a little bit ahead of the curve with being able to predict what some of the challenges may be. The things that you wake up on a Monday morning and are coming your way down the pike that you have to adjust to in real time are unbelievable. And it happens, week after week, day after day. And we are blessed to have a number of people with unbelievable anticipatory management skills. But even some of these things, they can't anticipate. So I always say I go to work on Monday morning with a plan in place, and that lasts until about 7:45 a.m. when the phone calls start coming in. And then you get to have the opportunity to do what you wanted to do on Monday at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when you've fixed everything that was kind of spiraling a little bit, during the course of the day. So that's one of the things that I love about this is every day is different. Every challenge comes out of left field. And it's great to watch how our people don't bat an eye and just hit the ground running and take on every challenge.
We're going to stick to the left first row.
Terry Spain with Sports Burst Media. How you all doing today?
Good, Terry.
Right.
Good.
So another UFL championship down, but there has been a lot of success with the UFL, and there's a lot of people that want the expansion. They want more of the UFL. Can you all speak to what's next for the UFL?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's amazing that we're here again in St. Louis. We do an amazing job. Really blessed to have these two teams here. And I think as we've gone through, and we talked about it, I think last time we were together, we did an RFP process when it came to expansion. We're looking heavily into the process. We're taking a lot of rigor to it. We're taking a lot of time and effort to do it the right way. And as far as ownership's concerned, keeping the board and the ownership group up to date on our process. That was the main reason we didn't put a timeline on it. We wanted to make sure that we went through it from a very authentic position and with a lot of integrity as we go through it. And so I think as we stand now, we will continue to look at it over the next few months, meet with the board and make some decisions. But I think it's in a very good place from a process standpoint.
I agree what he said. No, really, Russ covered it perfectly. I will actually add to that, to just not reveal anything, but to say, the passion for what we believe this league is going to be drives the decisions and the work that Russ and Daryl and the rest of our executive team is doing, so that when we do have these conversations, they're going to make a lot of sense and be very exciting.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Russ always talks about is incremental growth, and doing it in a way that is sound and provides us the opportunity to make sure this league is sustainable moving forward. It's great to hear how many people are interested in some of the topics when you talk about expansion. But when it's right for the league, that's when we'll make that decision, because the most important thing to us is making sure that as we move forward incrementally, that this is built on a sound, responsible platform that helps us sustain the success that we've already experienced.
We're going to go to center.
Great to see you all again.
Good to see
How you
you.
doing? This is Alan from the Allen of Sports Talk Show. So on that note, fans, they want to make sure the league is still sustainable. It seemed as if you guys are in for the long haul. Can you explain, each of you, what that means to say that you're in it for the long haul?
Oh, absolutely. Luckily, all the questions are leading up to this question as well. The answers are leading up. Everything that Russ has said and Daryl has said. Many leagues have been started with ego. Our league was started with passion and grit and discipline, knowing that to be in the football ecosystem, you don't just buy a ticket. You have to plan. You need to have the rigors. You have to have people around you who understand this is a 3, 5, 10, 15-year commitment, and have the flexibility, the imagination, the creativity to weather that movement. Right? We're 15 months old. We haven't even gotten to our terrible twos yet. Okay, so the process of that, it's interesting. We always think about the consumer watching from the outside. What are they thinking? And the amount of activity that's happening on the inside, as we keep focused on the fact that this is about longevity with our league.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that a little bit. It always starts with ownership. Anything you do in this game, it starts with ownership, and we are incredibly blessed to have the ownership group that we have, led by Dany. And when you look at Redbird Capital, Jerry Cardinal, and when you look at Fox Sports with Eric Shanks, and when you look at Dwayne Johnston, we have an incredible ownership group in Disney, obviously, that have put us in a position for long-term sustainability and growth. We are building this the right way, as Daryl said, with sound discipline. And we don't run from the adversity that you just mentioned. As I mentioned, we run to it. We are in a great position because of the staff that ownership has allowed us to put around this. The professionalism, the expertise that people bring on a daily basis is incredible. So I'm excited, because I often say that's a question we don't hear much anymore. And people know that we're building it the right way, and we're in it for the long haul, and that comes with expansion, and it comes with incremental growth, and it comes with the opportunity to bring our great game to our fans on incredible platforms.
What Dany said really struck a chord with me, built with passion. I mean, you look at the people that are a part of the UFL on the football side and the business side, and everybody's extremely passionate about what they do, what their job responsibilities are, and we know how important success is to them. And for me, I go back to the day that we opened up HQ and just reflected back to where the USFL was 2 years prior, where the XFL was 1 year prior, and to see where we were as the UFL that day is just amazing. That journey to that point, and as everybody's talked about, we're only 15 months. I love the fact we're not to the terrible twos yet. The terrible twos, oh my gosh. Where is this league going to be in 3 years, 4 years from its start? And if we go back and look at where we were when we started in Legacy USFL and where we were that day at the merger, to be able to project out for the UFL is very exciting for us.
We're going to go to left side, second row.
Hey guys, it's Jacob Kamiker from USA Today. Just a quick question. I know attendance was a big goal coming into this season. I had read that attendance in 7 of the 8 markets declined. I'm wondering what you might have learned about trying to get people into the seats this year, and what you can maybe take away from the growth in attendance in the Michigan market?
That's a great question. Jacob, from our standpoint, our main focus, as I mentioned, coming out of Legacy, XFL and USFL, the merger, closing on January 13th, going to training camp on February 28th, starting the season on March 28th, we were drinking out of a fire hose operationally to get up and run. And as we had new buildings and rescaled new buildings and did all the things on the operations side that, quite frankly, are boring to talk about, our main focus now is exactly what you just mentioned: local market activation, more people in the building. We have an incredible product with incredible athletes and coaches. You see it in the ratings, which are phenomenal, on ABC and Fox. People would give their eye teeth for the amount of eyeballs that are watching our games on TV. We have seen some decline, and we're looking at every way to re-engage and look at our marketplace in each separate silo as we move forward. But we know this: we have a great product. We know it's affordable. We're trying to activate as much as possible in each of these local markets, and we have a great plan, I believe, in place to do that. But we're not shying away from it. It's certainly something, again, that we're running towards.
And I'll follow up with Russ to just say, the stabilizing of the business, it's real, right? So we can take a moment out of football and just talk about two brands coming in together, and what does that do to the market? What does it do? And what headwinds and what tailwinds come with one brand versus the other, to finally get to a place where we had what I would call a true clear season. This season is our clear season. We have taken care of so many hurdles. We have merged all the houses. All the children are together. We are the UFL. And it gave us a great sense to say, okay, what do we actually have here? Where does confusion lie? What is that opportunity? And to Russ's point, we came away with so many learnings, in addition to the reinvestment, but just to the conversations we need to have. So it was important. It was a bit, I would say our first year merge was murky for us to understand, well, what does the market actually think of us, and who are we? And this is the year that we got the clarity, and now we know who we are, and now we push forward. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, I think time and place. There will come an opportunity for us to look back and learn, and to look forward and to implement and grow. But right now, let's stay present. And the biggest thing for us is to finish this weekend and complete our second season, and do it in a way. And just to give you an example of what we did last year, when you look back to learn and then look forward to grow, championship weekend was different this year than it was last year, because we felt we didn't have the opportunity to spend the time in the market to allow our players and coaches and staff to celebrate and to be thanked for what they did during the course of the season. So this is a much different layout when you look at championship this year and the time we're spending in St. Louis to what we did last year. And just to be out here on media day and the changes that we made here, and to see some of the guys, to watch Malik Turner with his camera going around, who's been in the NFL, but that was a big moment for him. And, just engaging all of his other teammates, and to go back there, and the guys are getting sized for rings right now, and the excitement that's generating. So just for us to be present for a couple of more days, and to celebrate and honor the coaches and the staffs and the players that have been so important to our season here in season 2. When the time comes and the time is right, then we'll start to reflect back and find out some of the whys, and then how can we implement that moving forward to make sure that we're getting better every year.
On the left side, second row.
James Larson with Pro Football Newsroom. Dany, you've been one of the key visionary pieces for spring football in this ecosystem the last few years. What are some of the things that you'd like to see the UFL kind of evolve into and continue to innovate in the next few years?
Okay. Thank you. First of all, thank you for that acknowledgement. I appreciate that. And I just want to say, as a visionary, it is a team visionary. So let me be clear on that. What I want to see is actually what we all want to see. This league clicking in with its consumer, its audience. This league continuing to do and be that opportunity for our athletes, where their performance here matters, where they know they're expressing their love of football and their incredible skill of football, and it is being appreciated, it is being enjoyed, it is being celebrated. The evolution of what we started, we really have so many of our ingredients put down and planted that it's just about letting it breathe and grow. By the way, I love the look back to learn, look forward, what was it? Look forward to grow.
Look forward to implement and grow.
That's great. So good. But really, I want to see that. We have a very specific culture. Getting HQ, having our HQ was so pivotal because it allowed our culture to be very condensed and everyone can feel that. It is now our time to take the UFL culture, because you're hearing us talk about football differently. I know you guys all cover sports, and I know that our conversations sound different. Well, our culture is different. So my vision is that culture translates out to our fandom, not just from our athletes who are feeling it and living it, but that it becomes a movement. And that when you have a UFL shirt or a team that has UFL, you know you're representing something that is very, very different, meaningful, grounded, and all about what's next and what's better. That's my vision.
First row up on the right.
Matty Fresh from Spring Ball Boulevard. This one for Russ. We've had 2 years now with a late March start date. What's the player feedback been on that, and are there any, if any, conversations going on about potentially moving that in?
Yeah, as Daryl mentioned, we're going to right into our planning sessions next week, and we're going to look at everything. As you know, XFL Legacy started February 17th, 1 week after the Super Bowl, and Legacy USFL was in late April. And when we went through the merger, we settled on March 28th, which has been the last 2 seasons of the UFL. But again, we're going to take a look and see what makes sense. Not only the player feedback, but our consumer feedback as well. And we'll go through that process as we're going to go through all of our business and football recapping process over the next few weeks and continue to make decisions. But that's certainly something on the table that we're reviewing.
We're going to stick the right side, first row.
Good morning, everyone. Henry Light, Spring Ball Boulevard. I got a question for Daryl. Common trend we saw play out in games this year is the team that won the yardage battle often lost the game outright. What do you think contributed to those results?
I think one of the big things you have to do as a football team is number one, don't beat yourself. And I think if you look at the 2 teams here that are in our championship game, that's one of the things that they were good at. DC's defense is a big play defense. When you look at total yards and some of the other areas where you measure a defensive performance, maybe not at the top of the league, but when you look at those splash plays, the forced fumbles, the fumble recoveries, interceptions, sacks, it's a team that thrives on the explosive play from the defensive side. I just see a little bit of what we saw last season in the NFL creeping into the UFL, which is dominance at the line of scrimmage. So a team that's controlling the clock and moving the football, but not generating a lot of points. I thought down the stretch, all the teams got better in red zone efficiency. So maybe we're trending in a different way than when you look at the 10-week schedule altogether, as opposed to the last 3 weeks. But a team like Michigan that really bases their success offensively of controlling that ball, keeping the opponent on the sideline, are they turning those opportunities in the red zone into 7 instead of 3? Because then all of a sudden you got Jordan Talon who comes out and throws the ball 60 yards down the field, and you just went 17 plays in 8 minutes and got 3, and then he just went 2 plays in 68 yards and got 7. So it's been fun watching that kind of balancing act during the course of the season. But we talked about this early on. It was in the beginning of the year when we all looked back. It took a minute to look back to last season. Okay, we've started out, we're at week 4. Where were we at last year? And we were kind of on that same pace. Week 3 popped a little bit for us in 2024. It didn't pop for us in 2025. But boy, once we hit week 5 and then move forward offensively, our offense has really started to control the games. So I think that's where your yardage thing kind of comes into play. But really what it is what are you doing with the football when you have that time? What are you doing when you're gaining that yardage? Are you turning that into 7 points or 3 points? So I think that it's one of the fun things that we'll see in our championship game tomorrow is the one team that likes to control the flow of the game with the defense that wants to make the big splash plays.
And let me follow up on that because I'm so glad you asked that question. Because I love when you talk football. But that, to Russ's point, Daryl's point, we're looking at things like that. We're looking at where we expected week 4 to be as compared to where it was and what we want week 4 to be in 2026. So just to point that out. Thanks.
We're going to take a couple calls from Zoom.
Greg?
See.
Hi, Hi, Megan Orm from News Stitch Media. So in April, the UFL obviously announced a partnership with DAZN to broadcast the league globally on a free-to-air basis. How exciting is it for you to be taken on the global stage and spreading that word out further than just the States?
And I will jump in. The globe is everything. We are so absolutely thrilled. I mean, to continue to expand this game and have this conversation outside of the United States is extremely important for us. It's important for us for development. It's important for the fandom. Obviously, we love football. We love sharing it. We love having partners who want to share it. So it is it's absolutely exciting and something that's very important to us.
Yeah, kind of us following that same model that the NFL has in place, Megan. You look at the expansion that they've done internationally and how they've grown the game over the last 12, 15, 20 years. It's amazing. Used to take American football over to Europe for preseason games. And now you're seeing regular season games being played all over the globe. We're down into South America. We're going to be going to Australia. It's amazing what the NFL has done and how they've grown that, and for us to be able to kind of ride that wave along with them, and in our own way expose more people in the springtime to American football is quite an honor.
And the last thing I'll say, Megan, is that what we talked about earlier, a league of increments. To think that 2 years ago we would be able to answer that question, that we're available overseas and all around the globe, is amazing to us. And we look at players all across this country, but all across the world as well. And who knows, we might be at a global showcase this coming fall. You never know.
We'll take one more from the Zoom.
Oscar?
Thank you very much. Hello for everyone from Mexico City, to Russ, Dany, and Daryl. More than a question, could you say a message, some words, each one of you, to all the Mexican fans and Latino fans with this great passion about American football, like we say, and follow the UFL? Thank you very much, and congratulations to be here one more year. Thank you very much. Gracias.
Well, first of all, I want to say, as always, to our Mexican fans, our Latino or Latinx fans, this is our league. Dany Garcia is here. This is our league. This game is the sport is a game for everyone. And the passion and the excitement for football in Mexico and what it means and how it can impact the game is something that we look at, something we appreciate for today, and something that we know in the future will be very impactful for us. So I say thank you and gracias.
Yeah, for me, having played with the Dallas Cowboys and been in Mexico City, in Monterrey for a game, and to see that passion, we were in Aztec Stadium and there was 111,000, and I still think that was Jerry Jones' vision to build AT&T Stadium, and to be able to go over 100,000 is for fans in a stadium to watch his Dallas Cowboys play. You knew the passion of the fans in Mexico. I've known it for quite some time, Oscar. And now it's an honor for us to be able to continue to develop that and grow that. We mentioned Europe and we mentioned all the other places, but yeah, it would not be right for us to not understand that our neighbor to the south, the passion that they've had for this game, and how many times we've brought American football via the NFL down there, and kind of hoping that at some point we're starting to get some of those players to come on up into the United States and try their hand at the UFL, as Russ pointed out. Being able to break through with an international player is something the NFL is really working hard at, and it's something that we would be in lockstep with them and hopefully have the opportunity to do that here with the UFL.
We're going to take two more questions in the back on the left.
Hi, how's it going? This is Kevin Ryan with Fox News in St. Louis. This one's for Daryl. How about the way this year, Birmingham was a 3-time champion, and they're knocked out Michigan this year. The Battlehawks in DC had a rivalry of sorts this year, kind of going back and forth and playing really competitive football. The first 4 weeks of the season, really a lot of teams were in it. How about the competitiveness of the league, the parity within the league this year, that you're going to get a new champion in 2025?
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's kind of odd, right? The last 3 years you've had Skip Holtz be a part of this weekend, and the Birmingham Stallions aren't here, so it's kind of strange. But to watch the resiliency of Mike Nolan and his team, For Mike personally to be 0-6 against Birmingham and finally break through last weekend is awesome. To have DC back, I think that they were the unknown team. In 2023 to be 9-1 and be one of the teams that was in the championship game. But then last year, not to make the playoffs. I think coming into this year, that was the great unknown for our league was what will DC be this year? And then as Russ pointed out, to have Reggie Barlow have that opportunity to go to Tennessee State and to watch Shannon Harris just jump into that role and, through his faith and through his belief in his team, to be able to get back to the championship game again is awesome. We would love to have, more opportunities for our players. We saw Houston pressing hard at the end of the season this year, a much improved team. Arlington Luis Perez is 1 and 2 in every category for a quarterback. And yet that seemed to be one of the defining things for our teams this year. If you had good quarterback play, you had an opportunity to be in the playoffs. Arlington remains the outlier in that situation with the way that Luis played this year. So we are excited to welcome one new team into the playoffs this year. But it's great to have 2 new teams in the championship game. And I'm excited to watch the matchups. There's some really, really interesting things that are going to go on. And I think that this kind of fuels our other teams. I think it's going to be fun to watch what Houston does next year coming out of the gate. I think what everybody learns in the UFL, because we're a 10-game season, you better not stumble out of the gates. And we've had a couple of teams stumble out of the gates this year, and you just cannot get your traction back. So I think that something we'll see next year is that focus in the early part of the season. And one of the things that we'll look at, do we need to go to 4 weeks of training camp to help our teams get off to a better start? We pared it down this year to 3 weeks because we were 75 players and 4 weeks last year. At 64, could we bring it down to 3 weeks? Those will be conversations we have with our coaches. Did that impact you? Do you need more time? The more continuity we have with our rosters from season to season, I think is going to be another thing. And as a young league, Russ is talking about 15 months. We've actually got players experiencing free agency this year. So there could be movement, with guys being on a team for 2 consecutive years. So how do we create that continuity where we're able to retain those guys without the other teams coming in and picking some of the higher profile, more successful players in our league to try to bring them their way? So I think it's going to be a fun off season for us and some things for our young league to grow and mature.
Final question to Jacob.
Hi, Jake Kamiker, USA Today again. You just mentioned a lot of the competitiveness of the league. One thing that we saw this year was a lot of teams having to use multiple quarterbacks, whether due to injury or just testing different combinations out. But the results have typically been very good, and teams have found good quarterbacks. What does that say about the depth of the position in this league?
Yeah, we are no different than any of the other professional football leagues that have tried to start. And you look at the NFL as your model. I mean, the teams that have an opportunity to compete for a Super Bowl at the beginning of the season are the teams that have that established game-changing quarterback that has the experience in big games. And we're not going to be any different than that. I think you make a great point. You look at Michigan on this field to have Bryce Perkins be 14 out of 15 and then make a change because you're still trying to figure out exactly what that role of the quarterback is going to be. Mike Nolan learns a big lesson right there. And then Bryce Perkins is going to be his guy the remainder of the season when he's healthy. I think when you look at our teams that struggled, they were the ones that struggled to find that quarterback to hang their hat on. Whether it was Houston, whether it was Memphis, the teams that really had a tough time, San Antonio, those are all teams that were trying to find that consistency at the quarterback position. It's great that there's confidence in our staffs to play a number of guys during the course of the season, but I think it goes back to what we just talked about in the preseason. You've got to walk into week 1 with your leading quarterback, your number 1 guy in place. And then as you get into the season and you want to get some reps to number 2 or get some reps to number 3, the way the CBA is structured now, then that's an opportunity for you to develop that position, but you have to have your guy in place week 1. And I hope that that's the big lesson that our teams learn this year. You look at DC with Jordan, you look at Arlington with Luis, you look at Birmingham, our defending champion. What, they had 6 quarterbacks during the course of the season? I mean, that's the big thing. Skip will talk about we couldn't get off the field defensively. Well, yeah, you also had 6 quarterbacks during the course of the year. So consistency at that position is going to be the key, and that's the same for us as it is with the NFL.
And Daryl said the jump that Houston made. The common denominator there is Jalen McClendon, right? They went with Jalen. Jalen had a heck of a year. and moved that team from a 1-9 team to 5-5. And the consistency that we're working with Jordan Palmer, with our quarterbacks in the off season, and Daryl mentioned it is an absolute parallel to the other league and other professional sports leagues. That quarterback goes, they go. And with one outlier this year, like Daryl said, and that was in Arlington.
And here's a great connection right there from Russ. The guy who probably got the most out of the Jordan Palmer camp was Jalen McClendon. You watched him before the camp session started. You watched him after the camp sessions were over, and there's Jalen McClendon in Jordan Palmer's ear. And he turned that into a heck of a season for himself. I think he actually surprised Curtis how well he threw the ball, how accurate he was with the football. Got that big arm, but I think his accuracy was what was developed working with Jordan.
Thank you, Dany, Russ, and Daryl.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.